morning. My name is Ellen Kahn. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the director of HRC's Children, Youth, and Families program. Thanks for joining us this morning for this very important event. Yesterday, we released our 2018 LGBTQ Youth Report, a critical document that details the key findings of our 2017 survey of LGBTQ teens. And it tells us the reality faced by many LGBTQ youth in our schools, in our communities, in their families, and in our neighborhoods. Every day, my team and I work to improve the lives of LGBTQ youth. And the results from this survey will help us. It'll inform our work going forward, because to fully address the needs of LGBTQ youth, we need to have a clearer picture of what they're going through. And I know that we all have to take much bigger and bolder steps to address the challenges that face LGBTQ teens. Many of those challenges were illuminated in the report. And today, we are delighted to be at the Ruth Ellis Center in Detroit, a community-based organization that works every day to improve the lives of LGBTQ teens. The Ruth Ellis Center stands out as a national model in putting care into action. We'll be hearing from several staff members of the Ruth Ellis Center. And we're going to start with remarks from someone I admire greatly, someone I've known, someone whose work I've followed and hope to emulate. Jerry Peterson has dedicated his professional life to improving the lives of children and youth, and was compelled to come here in 2013 to lead the Ruth Ellis Center into its next chapter. I offer you now Jerry Peterson, Executive Director of the Ruth Ellis Center.
Thanks, Ellen. We are incredibly delighted to host this in a series of events launching the 2018 LGBTQ Youth Report. You know, every time I speak, I always carry in my heart the voices of over 500 young people in the Detroit area who are silenced, isolated, and shamed simply by virtue of who they are. And so we serve an incredibly fierce, wonderful, creative number of young LGBT folks in the Detroit area who struggle to build positive futures. And so our core purpose as an organization is to work with LGBTQ young people who are experiencing barriers, both systemic and interpersonal barriers to their housing, health, and wellness. And speaking into that, we provide 4 core service areas. The first and the most basic and one of the most important is Second Story's drop-in center, which you're experiencing here today, which provides a wide array of low-barrier entry services where people can experience safe space to find their voice, to build their identity, to be themselves, and to be safe in an affirming environment, while they're also able to participate in services that meet their most basic needs for food, clothing, employment. Then from there, we also need to make sure that we understand that while LGBTQ youth are overrepresented in the homeless population, they're also overrepresented in child welfare. And so we have a 9-bed foster care residential facility, Ruth's House, which is state licensed and contracted to provide foster care residential services for LGBTQ youth. We're also very pleased to partner with Henry Ford Health System in providing fully integrated primary and behavioral health care services on site here at this location for young people who come to the drop-in center. And beyond that, we also are going upstream to know that families often get into crisis as a result of helping families to reduce their rejecting behaviors and to stabilize a home situation before a child gets kicked out, runs away, or ends up in child welfare or juvenile justice. So these are core services that we are blessed to provide in partnership with a very generous community here in Detroit, but we could not build or sustain any of these services without credible data. We have the incredibly strong voices of the young people that we work with here at Ruth Ellis, and their stories are powerful and vital. But most stakeholders need data. They need something that brings some objective truth to the range of needs and issues that young people face. And so that's why I am so excited and really indebted and grateful to the HRC for making sure that the voices of 12,000 young people are brought to light. I mean, that's an incredible feat and a very exciting day when we as service providers across the country will be able to continue to partner with HRC to really use this data to build our services, to build the case for both services as well as policy and funding across the board. This is an incredible step forward for our community. So with that, I am really indebted to HRC in general, but especially to Chad Griffin, the president of the Human Rights Campaign, and happy to introduce him now.
Thank you so much, Jerry, and good morning, everyone. I have to say it is such a pleasure and an honor to be here in Detroit, Michigan, to release HRC's youth survey. As Ellen mentioned earlier, this youth survey is the largest and most comprehensive survey of our young people across the country to date. The survey is inclusive of more than 12,000 LGBTQ youth participants. I do also want, as Ellen did, just to acknowledge Jerry Peterson and the entire team here at the Ruth Ellis Center for all of the work, the life-saving work that you do day in and day out. You are on the front lines of these battles, and we are grateful. So thank you for your leadership. I also want to acknowledge the incredible folks who are standing up here with me today. Dwayne Cole Jr., who you're going to hear from, is a former client of the Ruth Ellis Center and a current development associate. Brandy Smith is another former client and the current trans justice coordinator. And Dr. Stacy Hirsch, the director of residential programs here at the center. It is an honor and humbling to be standing up here with each of you. I also want to acknowledge those that made this survey possible. Our partners at the University of Connecticut for their partnership in this survey's formation and execution, as well as the entire team at the HRC Foundation that work year-round to pull off, to launch, and to execute this survey. And I especially want to thank my colleague, the incredible Ellen Kahn, who is the director of HRC's Children, Youth and Families program. She and her team and her colleagues lead the process that brought us to the launch of this survey today. So thank you, Ellen, for your incredible leadership. You know, when I started this job, my very first initiative as HRC president was to launch our national report on LGBTQ youth at the Los Angeles LGBT Center. 6 years later, our country has changed in some profound ways, in some cases for the better. Today we have nationwide marriage equality, we have more cities and we have more states that extend non-discrimination protections to our community, and we have a growing number of states that today ban the practice of so-called conversion therapy, which we call child abuse. That number continues to grow. Just yesterday, the state of Maryland became yet another state stepping up and acknowledging that this practice is dangerous and in many cases even life-threatening to our youth. So yes, we have seen real progress. But the results of our latest youth survey reveal in distressing detail the persistent challenges that so many young people face at home, at school, and in our communities. More than 12,000 respondents, including more than 600 from the state of Michigan, ranging in age from 13 to 17, and from every corner of America, from small towns to big cities, participated in this survey. They told us they're not only experiencing heartbreaking levels of stress, anxiety, and rejection, but alarming numbers feel overwhelmingly unsafe in their own classrooms. We were very intentional in our outreach with this survey to ensure that we had strong representation from LGBTQ youth of all backgrounds, including young people of color who are often underrepresented in national surveys. We know we're only scratching the surface of the challenges that our youth face, but that's exactly why we're here in Detroit at the Ruth Ellis Center. This organization is a shining example of how to best focus on addressing the disparities that are made clear in this survey and provide outreach and safety net services to help our youth. Here are just a few of the disturbing realities for LGBTQ young people that were revealed in our survey. And I want to stress this point before I go through the results. These are not just statistics. These are not just assigned numbers next to results. Each of these numbers represent real people, a real person, their actual stories, their own lived experience. 77% report feeling depressed. 95% report trouble sleeping at night. Only 26% said they always feel safe in their classrooms. 43% said that they have been bullied at school in the past 12 months. Only 11% of youth of color surveyed believe their racial or ethnic group is regarded positively. 50% of trans and gender nonconforming youth said that they can never use school restrooms that align with their gender identity. And a shocking 65% said that they try and avoid using the restroom all day while at school. 67% report that they've heard family members, this is around their own dinner tables, make negative comments about LGBTQ people, and trans youth are 2 times more likely to be taunted, mocked, and bullied by family members. This is just a snapshot of the world LGBTQ young people live in today. These statistics show the devastating toll that rejection by family and peers, bullying and harassment, and apathy on the part of too many adults is having on our young people. And I think this is one of the critical points to underscore. These statistics are driven by the actions or inactions of adults, those who are to be the responsible ones protecting our young people, protecting our youth from the bullies. And in so many instances, this shows those that should be the responsible adults are in fact acting as the bullies. It's unacceptable and it has to change. And these statistics must serve as a call to action for this nation. The simple truth is that when Donald Trump, Mike Pence, and Betsy DeVos attack trans students by rescinding guidance established to protect them, or when lawmakers attempt to grant a license to discriminate to schools, colleges, and universities, it further erodes the fragile landscape for our young people all across this country. When elected leaders attack LGBTQ people, it gives license to discriminate to others to do just the same. It fans the flames of hate and bigotry. But there is also reason for great hope. As this report makes clear, there are stories of empowerment, of resilience, activism, and advocacy by our youth. Across the country, LGBTQ youth are taking a stand, and they're advocating for inclusivity and equality in their homes, in their schools, and in their communities. And increasingly, they're demanding the same from their elected leaders. 91% report feeling pride in being an LGBTQ person. And 3 out of 5 students report having access to an LGBTQ affirming student club, which can, as you all know, provide vital support to those who may face hostile environments at home and in their communities. But more must be done. And it's our responsibility and our duty as parents, as educators, as advocates and mentors to address these disparities in health and well-being and to secure together a brighter, better, and more inclusive tomorrow for all LGBTQ young people. It's time for adults to act like adults. As this report lays out, every single adult can play a critical and even life-saving role in changing the landscape for our youth. If you're a parent or a family member, make your home a safe and an affirming place for LGBTQ youth. If you're a teacher or an administrator, establish clear and inclusive policies that support our youth. If you're a mental health or a medical professional, be an overt advocate for LGBTQ youth, for your patients at all levels of healthcare. And if you are a policymaker, you must stop attacking and demeaning LGBTQ people for your own cynical political gain. As this survey shows, those words, those actions have real life consequences. Your job is to stand up and to fight to protect our young people, to enact anti-bullying policies, and to enact non-discrimination protections on the local, state, and national level. Now more than ever, it is crucial for each of us to do all that we can to protect LGBTQ youth with a great sense of urgency. They are the future, and we must ensure they are protected, that they feel safe, they feel valued, equal, and loved. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Chad. Next, we're going to hear from Dwayne Cole Jr., a former client of the Ruth Ellis Center who is now their development associate. He'll share a bit of his experience and what this center has meant to him.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dwayne Cole. I just wanted to start off by saying the accuracy in this report was phenomenal. Like, it was just amazing how accurate it was to my experience. And to actually see that people are actually out there recognizing the experiences that LGBTQ young people face means a lot. For me, I know my experiences they've been a roller coaster, to say the least. So I feel like I've had the luxury, and I consider this a luxury because I feel like my struggles have turned me into the amazing person that I feel like I am today, and they're continuing to grow. So the struggles that I've faced, like, I've experienced the luxury of having a supportive family, as well as having to live with certain relatives that don't really agree with the LGBTQ lifestyle. This is a part of me, and I love every single bit of me. So the fact that I was able to be a part of both, the fact that I was able to be a part of both of those, really helped create who I am today. And I feel that all the experiences and all the trouble that I faced with being a part of the LGBTQ community and on top of other social identities, other factors that create who I am, on top of being an African American male in America, on top of having a socioeconomic class that was below average, so being poor, all of these different factors played into who I am today. And I feel that the fact that I went through all of those experiences are really important in creating who I am today. So I know that it's hard for a lot of LGBTQ young people to actually be able to open up and be themselves and feel safe where they are. But I know that for me, I never would let that stop me. So my social identity, all of this creates who I am. And I would never want for anyone to have to endure all of the oppression and all of the discrimination that the LGBTQ community has to face. But this report is the start of something that is really bigger than all of us, I feel. This report helps for the whole world to actually understand and realize that we have to make a change. And it's possible for us to make a change. And even though I've been through all of these experiences that have been shown in this report, the depression, the anxiety, all of these things are things that I still struggle with today. But I'm not going to let that stop me, and I wouldn't want that to stop anyone who identifies as LGBTQ. And I wanted to also add that it's possible for anyone to learn about LGBTQ competency. It's possible for you to learn. You just have to want to learn. And as we move forward, as we continue to make more reports, as we continue to do more studies and more surveys, it's going to be possible for us to make a difference in our community. And you don't have to know the answers. You just have to be willing to take the time to learn them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. We're going to hear from Brandy Smith, also a former client of the Ruth Ellis Center, who is now their Trans Just Us coordinator. Brandy will share a bit of her experience and what the center means to her.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, viewing this report, to me, it was shocking. It was shocking in two different ways. To be completely honest, it was shocking in the sense of the fact that people were so honest with their answers and actually giving a lot of feedback as to what goes on inside of the school systems and inside of their homes. That is very, very, very vital. It's very important, and it's very useful. The other way that it was shocking to me is that not even 8 years ago, I was inside of the school system experiencing the exact same things that these youth are still experiencing now in the school system. Nothing to my relevance with the report, nothing has changed. And that's a big letdown to me because I overcame most of the obstacles and the things that I went through inside of middle school and high school. Most of those things are what made me who I am today. I also remember getting suspended over 8 times in the Detroit public school system due to the fact that I was transgender. I myself would not go to a men's restroom because I didn't feel like it was what I identified as. I identify as female. So why would I want to go to a male restroom? Most people look to this as something that is bad or something that is confusing to people. But just as Dwayne said, as long as you guys are willing to listen and learn, you can learn some vital information about the trans community and also the LGBTQ community. The Ruth Ellis Center itself is a safe space, not only for me and Dwayne, but also for a lot of youth that come here ready to learn, experience, and also take on the world. We have a lot of different things to offer here at the Ruth Ellis Center. And we also have trainings for those people that want to learn. And I really would encourage all of you to take heed to that. Like, everyone doesn't have training and everyone doesn't want to learn. But I feel like if you want to, and it's an opportunity to, you should. I was very, very sheltered in a sense of I was scared. I had a lot of anxiety and I had a lot of stress behind the school system and family support. And I feel like it's okay. I overcame that, and I feel like anybody else in this world can overcome it as well. I feel like it's very, very important for you to stay strong. I feel like it's very important for you to talk to whomever will listen. And I feel like it's very, very important for you to keep strong. Like, just hold on. Because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. but you will be strong, you will overcome, and you will achieve whatever it is that you want. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brandy. We're now going to hear from Dr. Stacy Hirsch, Director of the Residential Programs at the Ruth Ellis Center. She'll share about the center's innovative work and specific programs tailored to meet the needs of the LGBTQ youth population.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I feel kind of set up coming after such these two dynamic young people. As I said, I am the residential director of Ruth's House, which is a foster care facility for LGBTQ youth. It's 9-bed. It's just inside of Detroit, about 2 miles from where we are right now. What's unique about Ruth's House? It's free, meaning kids can come and be who they are and nobody's batting an eyelash. They can relax about at least one thing in their life. And I think that that's fantastic. I wish I had had that kind of freedom when I was growing up. To the report, they sent me a whole bunch of questions, so I have them laid out as questions, so I apologize. Were you surprised? Was there anything missing, etc.? And I have to say, I'm not surprised. I've been in this business 35 years, and 17 of it has been in foster care. And we're like they are suffering. I am very irritated we are allowing children to be abused in whatever way, shape, or form. They asked to be here. It's difficult because I'm from the generation where AIDS first came out, and that was a different world. Then now, but I don't think we're yet talking poverty, substance abuse, developmental milestones, it's about in leadership. You know, too many letters in the alphabet. A vision of queerness that is not regular people walking down the street as mentors and not Caitlyn Jenner. There was another question I really, really liked. What would I say to other providers about how to take care of LGBTQ youth? I've got some great ones. Are you ready? Get your pens out. Leave your assumptions in your car at the office parking lot. And that's true even if you too are queer. My world is different than my kids. Our kids are in foster care for a reason, and most of the time, I'm just done looking at some data, most of the time, it's not because a parent kicked them out because of their LGBTQ status. It's usually neglect. So you've got layer upon layer upon layer. That fortunately was not my life. Let youth define their SOGI identity and not you. It is not your responsibility. They are children, they are developing. Let them develop. Don't pressure kids to come out. Coming out is a process. And for many of us, it happens over and over again for the rest of our lives because of the way the society is set up. Let the youth figure out who, what, when, how, and why. And you be their coach and their guide. We need a deeper dive in terms of the mental health needs of LGBTQ youth. As I said before, the intersectionality of other issues. And we need to then develop treatments that are not based on heterosexual and definitions of normal that are on our terms. And we need to develop rites of passage to help bring our youthhood in a way that makes them feel good and ready for this world. Years. Thank you so much.
Indeed, the nation is indebted to HRC for bringing all of this information forward for all of us to benefit from and work on together. So we would and ask if there are any questions that you'd like to address to anyone here.
Press folks have one or two questions. Otherwise, all of our speakers are available for one-on-one interviews.
I'd like to know what you can do to put a stop to what's going on. I mean, you say it's a repeat from previous years. What do you do?
Well, to be completely honest, for me, it's very clean cut and dry. I feel like everyone should be identified in their own individual, unique way, for one. And I also feel like just as the gentleman said, you should, I'm sorry, but not only do you identify in your own way, correct? And I feel like every adult should step up and be an adult. Like it's no reason why a young person should be able to come to you and you not be able to help them out with things that they have going on. Counselors inside of the school system are put there to help. If you're not willing to help, why do the job? That's how I feel. Why do the job?
Yeah, please.
So also piggyback off of that, I feel that education is really important. Education is not just something that's only for like younger people or adolescents and stuff. Like if you're like learn a few things or two, like it's okay. So like if you don't know, it's asking those questions and getting the answers that you want. And I feel that organizations like the Ruth Ellis Center and different organizations that cater to LGBTQ young people, like go to those organizations and ask. And I feel that us as an LGBTQ community could create more spaces for individuals who want to be allies to learn, so can learn what is needed for allies and how to support. Because I feel that there's power in numbers, and the more support that we have, the more that we can accomplish together. Okay.
If I can add one thing to that, one of the findings that jumped out for me is the significant number of young people who hear negative remarks about LGBTQ people in their own homes. And I reflect back, and I would love to hear about others. When young people become aware of their sexual orientation, their gender identity, before they talk about it. And, young people are listening very carefully to what's being said by their parents, their grandparents, their siblings. What's the message they're getting at church or synagogue or at a mosque? What are they hearing in their close community? And that's telling them whether it's going to be okay for them to be who they are. Those are the kind of early messages they get. And if those early messages say that it's okay, we're going to listen, we're going to work with you, and we're going to support you, their whole foundation. So if their school is not addressing their needs, at least they've got someone at home who has their back and who can push. So I feel like if you're a parent or caring for a young child, even if it doesn't occur to you that that child has a sexual orientation or gender identity, which all children do, what are the messages you're giving? What are your children hearing at their dinner table? What are they hearing when you're sitting around chatting with friends? Are you throwing around homophobic slurs, transphobic slurs? Start early with those messages that tell young people the LGBTQ and that